The airlock hissed open, releasing a cloud of recycled atmosphere into the training bay. Elsa stepped through first, her boots magnetic locking to the deck plating with each measured step. Behind her, Harry followed, his datapad clutched against his chest like a shield. "Cadets, form up." Instructor Zekther's voice crackled through the comm system, his Krillian vocal cords producing sounds that the universal translator struggled to render into something approximating standard galactic. The training bay stretched before them, a zero-gravity chamber 50 meters in diameter, its walls lined with impact-resistant polymer. Floating debris from previous exercises drifted lazily through the space. Broken equipment housings, severed cables, depleted fuel cells, fragments of composite materials. The remnants of a dozen training scenarios. Elsa counted 23 cadets total, 19 different species, 2 humans. Zekther's exoskeleton clicked as he maneuvered through the microgravity, his 6 limbs allowing him to pivot with practiced ease. "Today's exercise is simple," he announced, his compound eyes reflecting the bay's harsh LED strips. "Survival Scenario 7 Alpha, you are stranded. Your ship has suffered catastrophic failure. Hostiles are approaching. You have," he paused for effect, "exactly 12 minutes to improvise a defensive weapon from materials available in this chamber." A ripple of anxiety passed through the cadets. Several of the Vexarii began their ritual breathing exercises. The lone crystalline student's internal light flickered nervously. "Begin," Zekther bellowed. Chaos erupted. Cadets launched themselves toward the floating debris, colliding midair in their desperation. A Thoraxian cadet grabbed a meter-long piece of composite tubing and immediately began examining it, turning it over and over as if the perfect weapon would spontaneously manifest from prolonged observation. Harry propelled himself toward a cluster of broken machinery near the far wall, his movements economical despite his obvious nervousness. Elsa, however, remained stationary for exactly 2.3 seconds, her dark eyes scanning the chamber with the systematic precision of a combat AI. Then she moved. Her first target was a detached hull panel, roughly half a meter square, edges jagged from whatever had torn it free. She grabbed it, rotated it to examine the underside, noted the mounting brackets still attached, and secured it to her equipment belt using the magnetic clip designed for zero-G tool retention. She didn't stop moving. A severed power conduit still warm to the touch, the rubber insulation could be stripped, the copper wire inside braided for tensile strength, secured to her belt. A depleted plasma cell, its casing intact but contents exhausted, the ceramic interior could be shattered into razor-sharp fragments, into the belt pouch. An emergency ration pack, the military-grade kind with the metallic wrapper, thin enough to be flexible, strong enough to be deadly when folded correctly, tucked into her shoulder strap. Elsa's hands moved with mechanical efficiency, never hesitating, never second-guessing. While other cadets struggled to identify even one potential weapon, she was already on her 7th acquisition. A broken welding torch, gas cartridge empty, but the focusing nozzle could concentrate almost anything into a directed stream. Number 8. Lubricant spray can, flammable, pressurized, and the nozzle created an effective propellant in zero-G number 9. Across the chamber, Harry had managed to secure a heavy wrench and was now attempting to sharpen one end against a rough surface. Respectable, practical, exactly what the instructors probably expected. The Vexarii cadet had fashioned a crude club from bundled cables. The crystalline student appeared to be crying, though with their species it was difficult to tell. Elsa continued her methodical harvest. A bundle of zip ties from an opened equipment case, individually weak, collectively capable of creating snares, restraints, even crude armor when layered correctly. Numbers 10 through 17. A small container of industrial adhesive, contact poison when mixed with certain metals, trap component when combined with sharp objects. Number 18. Fire suppression foam canister, blinding agent, suffocation hazard, zero-G propellant. Number 19. The other cadets had begun to notice. Is she collecting things? One of the Thoraxians chittered to its partner. 17 items, Instructor Zekther murmured into his personal recorder, his translator rendering it as curious rather than impressed. Subject exhibits unusual hoarding behavior. Unusual to them, perhaps. Elsa's fingers closed around a jagged piece of duraplast, edges sharp enough to cut through standard EVA suits. She tested the weight, calculated the mass distribution, determined optimal grip positioning, and added it to her growing arsenal. Number 20. A roll of reflective insulation tape, blinding agent when deployed in sheets, restraint material when used in strips, signal device when positioned to catch light. 21. Magnetic tool bits scattered from a maintenance kit, projectiles when accelerated, caltrops when scattered, electronic interference when placed strategically near certain systems. 22 through 31. 6 minutes remain, Zekther announced. The urgency in the bay intensified. Cadets who had spent the first 6 minutes paralyzed by indecision now scrambled desperately. 2 Krillians fought over a particularly sturdy-looking pipe until Zekther intervened with a warning hiss. Harry had upgraded from his wrench, now holding both it and a makeshift shield constructed from a cargo container lid. Good progress. He caught Elsa's eye across the chamber and gave her a slight nod, the universal human gesture for "I see you're being weird again, but I support you." She acknowledged with the briefest flicker of a smile, before returning to her work. A pressure gauge, its needle stuck but the glass face intact, bludgeoning weapon, cutting tool once broken, reflective signaling device. 32. Chemical cold pack from the emergency medical supplies. Endothermic reaction could cause severe frostbite, could supercool certain materials to brittleness. 33. Elastic cord from cargo netting, propulsion system, snare component, tourniquet, even crude armor when stretched tight across a frame. 34. Metal file from the tool kit, obvious cutting stabbing weapon, but more importantly, a source of metal shavings for various chemical applications. 35. Now Instructor Zekther was watching her exclusively, his other students forgotten. He drifted closer, compound eyes tracking each acquisition with growing fascination. Elsa noticed but didn't acknowledge him. Her focus remained absolute. Ball bearings from a failed gyroscope assembly, projectiles, trap components, audio distraction devices when scattered. 36 through 42. A small mirror from the hygiene station, signaling device, psychological warfare tool, can focus light into a burning point given correct atmospheric conditions. 43. Powdered fire extinguisher chemical, obscurant, irritant, explosive when properly concentrated and ignited. 44. 2 minutes, Zekther called out, though his attention never wavered from the human female who had transformed herself into a mobile arsenal. The other cadets had largely settled into their choices now, single weapons clutched in appendages, claws, or manipulator fields. Simple, direct, exactly what evolution had taught their species: find the biggest stick available. Elsa grabbed a damaged light fixture, its lead array cracked but the reflective backing intact. Focused light source, blinding device, or broken into fragments for multiple smaller reflectors. 45. A length of fiber optic cable, garrote, tripwire light transmission for signaling or distraction. 46. She paused, surveying the remaining debris with the same intensity she'd maintained from the start. 30 seconds remaining. The other cadets had stopped moving entirely, weapons selected, attention now fixed on the human who had turned a simple exercise into something else entirely. Elsa's hand shot out one final time. A simple writing stylus composite material pointed tip, roughly 15 centimeters long. In trained hands, it could penetrate between armor plates, target vital organs, disrupt electronic systems. In untrained hands, still a weapon. Always a weapon. 47. Time, Zekthar announced. The chamber fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Cadets, present your improvised weapons for evaluation, the instructor commanded. One by one, students displayed their selections. The Thoraxian held up his pipe with multiple hands. A Vexarii presented a sharpened sheet of metal. The crystalline student, having finally composed themselves, had fashioned a crude hammer from a bolt and some wrapping. Harry showed his wrench and shield combination, and Zekthar nodded approvingly. Practical, defensive and offensive capability. Well done, Cadet Harrison. Then Zekthar turned to Elsa. Cadet Reeves, please explain your collection. Elsa began unburdening herself of the items, laying each one in a careful zero-G array before her. Hull panel, power conduit, plasma cell casing, ration wrapper, welding torch, lubricant spray, on and on until 47 distinct objects floated in organized rows. The other cadets stared. I was instructed to improvise a weapon, Elsa said calmly, her voice carrying none of the academic superiority that might have been expected, just stating facts. I improvised 47 weapons. Each item can function independently as a weapon or in combination with others for enhanced effectiveness. For example, she plucked the hull panel and the zip ties from the array, shield with integrated projectile launcher using elastic tension. She grabbed the adhesive and the Duraplast shard, proximity trap with delayed activation, power conduit and lubricant spray, electrical snare with flammable coating for area denial. Zekthar's mandibles clicked together in what his species used to express profound confusion. You had 12 minutes. How did you identify so many potential weapons in such limited time? Elsa's expression remained neutral. Instructor, you asked us to improvise defensive weapons. On Earth, humans have been improvising weapons for approximately 2 million years. We've had practice. But the other species, Zekthar gestured at the assembled cadets, they also have evolutionary histories of tool use and most species, Elsa interrupted gently, develop tools primarily for survival against their environment. Humans develop tools primarily for survival against other humans. Everything becomes a weapon when your greatest threat has the same intelligence you do. A Vexarii cadet's breathing intensified nervously. The Thoraxian took an involuntary step backward. Where you saw broken equipment, Elsa continued, I saw improvised explosives, cutting tools, bludgeons, projectiles, toxins, restraints, traps, and psychological warfare devices. Not because I'm particularly creative, but because that's what humans are trained to see. We call it situational awareness. Our instructors back on Earth called it constant threat assessment. Our ancestors called it surviving. Harry cleared his throat. To be fair, I only found 2 weapons. You weren't raised in the Detroit reclamation zone, Elsa replied without looking at him. Different baseline. Instructor Zekthar was quiet for a long moment, his translator struggling with whatever sounds he was producing. Finally, he spoke. Cadet Reeves, I want you to understand something. This exercise has been conducted 743 times across 12 training facilities. The previous record was 9 improvised weapons, held by a Krillian cadet who had 17 years of combat engineering experience. He gestured at her floating arsenal. You achieved 47 in 12 minutes, with no prior military experience listed in your file. Elsa shrugged, a gesture that looked strange in zero-G. You told us to improvise weapons, so I did. Is this, Zekthar paused, searching for words, is this typical for your species? For humans, Elsa considered the question seriously. Improvising weapons, yes, instructor, that's pretty typical. We're not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most resistant to environmental hazards, but we're very, very good at making things we can use to hurt things that want to hurt us. She collected her 47 weapons with practiced efficiency, securing them back to various points on her training suit. It's probably our most refined skill, if I'm being honest. The training bay remained silent as the implications settled over the assembled cadets like a heavy blanket. Somewhere in the back of the chamber, a Vexara cadet whispered something to its neighbor that the translator rendered as, "Remind me never to be stranded with a human." Harry, ever the diplomat, raised his hand. For what it's worth, we're also pretty good at improvising friendships. It's the same basic principle, adaptability under pressure, but with fewer stabbing implements involved. Instructor Zekther made a sound that might have been laughter or horror. The translator couldn't quite decide. "Exercise concluded," he finally announced. "Cadet Reeves, please submit a detailed report on the tactical applications of each of your 47 weapons. I expect it will be educational for the Curriculum Development Committee." As the cadets began filing out of the training bay, Harry drifted alongside Elsa. 47, really? She glanced at him, then back at the floating debris they were leaving behind. "Actually, I saw 63 potential weapons, but I ran out of time and storage space." Harry laughed, but it was the nervous kind. "You know what the scary part is? I can't tell if you're joking." Elsa's expression remained perfectly neutral as they passed through the airlock. "Neither can I, Harrison. Neither can I." Behind them, Instructor Zekther remained in the training bay, staring at the debris field with new eyes. What his species had always seen as broken equipment, spare parts, and recyclable materials now revealed itself as something else entirely. An arsenal, just waiting for someone creative enough or desperate enough to recognize it. He made a note in his personal log: recommend updating training protocols. Human cadets may require specialized evaluation criteria. Also recommend never being stranded on a hostile planet with a human unless they are definitely on your side. Then he added, strongly recommend they are on your side. Just to be safe. And